TIFU by publishing my husband's porn habits. I was sitting this week with my best friend just hanging out watching a show on Netflix at our home computer, when my husband called and asked me to order online some things from the grocery store. He uses an online service called KeepList to manage all his tasks and notes, so he told me to Google it and open the list called groceries and just order the things on the list. So I was doing it while my friend was sitting next to me. We both started laughing at my husband that he writes everything in organized lists. And we started going through his lists and made fun of him. He has lists for packing a bag, cleaning chores, office chores, etc. All of a sudden, we both see a list called porn links. Yikes. I can't believe your husband watches porn. That's disgusting. Well, I know he does it. I am okay with it. I don't think it's such a big deal. But I was really embarrassed because my friend was being so judgmental. I am sure it's just a joke. It's not actual porn links. He does things like this all the time. I quickly closed the website. Don't you want to know the truth? Open one of the links. My friend was being a bitch, trying to get between me and my husband. I can't believe you. Your kids use the computer all the time. This is what you want them seeing. At this point, I got up from the computer and started walking towards the bathroom. I couldn't believe it, but she actually opened the website again and clicked one of the links. It was a threesome video that my husband saved. Yikes. I am shocked. You don't mind that he watches other women? That's like cheating. I went to the computer and signed out from the website. Don't judge my marriage. Focus on your own, please. My friend got up and left. I have not spoken to her since. I hate what she did and how judgmental she was being, but she's a really good friend that I miss. I am now mad both at my husband and my friend. Sucks. TLDR. I was browsing my husband online to-do list with my friend, and we found out he keeps a list of porn movies. TIFU sending an inappropriate email to a longtime friend 30-plus years ago. This happened when I was in college. It is now easily approaching 30 years ago, but the regret for what I did has lived on ever since. When I was in middle school, I met a girl while attending a concert for the Dallas Brass in her town that was sponsored by her school band. I was a tuba player and she played clarinet. She and I struck up a conversation and decided to start writing each other. This became the start of what became one of the most powerful relationships I ever had in my life. Over the years, we wrote each other back and forth constantly. She lived about an hour or so away, so if I sent her a letter, she would usually get it in a couple of days and I would get a reply from her a couple of days later. It got to the point where I would anticipate when I'll receive my next letter from her. She and I truly became best friends. Our letters never got flirty or inappropriate, but I remember us having the 2 people plus 2 together forever as friends at the end of our letters as time moved along. When my high school band was at her town, I would make it a point to spend time with her. The same thing would happen when we were at auditions for all district or all state band. She came to my Eagle Scout ceremony when I was 15 and introduced me to her brother a couple of years later when I was about to start college, since he was already a student there, to help me get a feel for what things will be like. I even asked her to be my date for my senior prom, but she already had a date for another prom happening at the same time. I was bummed at that since I really wanted her to go. Fortunately, I got another date, but what happened with that is another story altogether. Not for this subreddit, though. And not that one either. God, get your minds out of the gutter. Fast forward to college. The internet was just starting to become a thing. I signed up for a school email address that I still remember to this day. Our handwritten letters then turned into emails once she started college a short time later. For those of you too young to know, back in the 90s, the internet was the Wild West. Porn was something you either paid for or found ways to obtain by other means, i.e. pirating. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter weren't even twinkles in their creators' minds. Hell, the first social networking site, MySpace, wouldn't exist for another decade. People would send things around to each other without actively thinking about the consequences. This would include emails that put much-loved characters from our childhood in very compromising positions. One email in particular I received like this one day at school had to do with characters from Sesame Street. I read this email and found it funny in spite of the content. But then again, I have always had a bit of an oddball sense of humor. So I did what anyone would do back then and forward it to everyone I knew I had an email address for. She was one of them. Mind you, she had very recently been there for me when my dad passed away in October of 1995. I believe this incident happened sometime in 1996. Sorry, but everything that happened from when my dad died to when I left college is very much a blur. And no, it isn't because I'm old. I dealt with a lot of different things, and so I have time piecing together the events of those 4 years. It wasn't at that moment I realized I had fucked up. No, it was a few minutes later when she replied to my email. That was when I hadn't only realized I had fucked up, but I outright knew. She berated me for sending her such an offensive email about a collection of beloved characters from our childhood. I tried to apologize, but she wouldn't hear it. I tried using one of her HS friends as an intermediary to express how sorry I was for what I did, and that I meant no ill will or bad intent, but was shut down. So, with a broken heart, I took my ball and went home, so to speak. I never emailed her again, though I would regularly wonder how she was doing in school. Over the years, I would get the thought to reach out to her and attempt to rebuild the bridge that I summarily nuked by sending that email, but after the way she reacted when I sent the email, I was afraid that I would get another message like that, but more forceful. You see, I loved this girl as a best friend. Yes, I considered the possibility of dating her, but I was afraid that if we did that and broke up, I would lose her forever. And then, because of a stupid email message, I actually had lost her and decided in my mind that it was forever. I couldn't tolerate my heart being broken twice by the same girl whom I had cared for so much for so long. She never knew this, but there was a song that I felt reflected our relationship way back then. Listening to it now, I can assuredly say it definitely reflects how our relationship was. The song, Do You Remember, by Phil Collins. Fast forward to present day. I am friends with her brother on Facebook and have been for quite a while. One day out of the blue, she came to mind and I felt my heart break from missing not talking to her over all these years. I thought, time heals all wounds. Plenty of time has passed. Maybe she will welcome me back into her life and we can rekindle our friendship. Mind you, my oldest son had passed away about 4 years prior to this from a traumatic brain injury that he had survived for over a decade, so my emotions were a bit raw, and I felt having her back in my life would help temper things. Remember, she was there for me when my dad died. Maybe she would let bygones be bygones and be there for me again. I consider her brother a good friend, so I thought the best way to ask her would be by using him as my spokesman. I asked him to talk to her and find out if she would be willing to come back into my life. Let the past be water under the bridge, so to speak. Thankfully, he did so and got back to me promptly. Sadly, the message I got back was not what I had hoped. His direct message to me was as follows. She doesn't think ill of you, but sees no need to revisit the past. She's content. I initially felt the air leave the room, only to be comforted upon rereading those words. I thanked him for his efforts and asked him to fill her in about my family, especially my oldest son, so she would know how things were with me. In the long run, I guess I too am content. On the positive side, she doesn't hate me like she said she did in college, or that I thought she was going to be today. In fact, I'm glad that she doesn't. But that leaves me still with a bit of a hole. I want to write her one last time so I can fully close the door on this chapter of my life. You see, even after 30 years, she still crosses my mind and my heart. She was a big part of my life for many years. She was there for me during some of the happiest and saddest moments of my life. Frankly, things like that make it hard to let go and move on. But I know there is a lot I want and need to say to her, so I know that I can have peace in closing that chapter. Do I hope she will write me back? Yes, but I'll understand if she doesn't. If I write her, I'm going to actually include a self-addressed stamped envelope so she won't have to worry about paying the postage. I'm even considering telling her that she can send it back to me with as much or as little as she wants, just so long as I receive, because then I'll know that she received and read my letter. Honestly, that assurance is all it would take to close this chapter. And, in the end, those feelings are why I decided to write this story today. I don't know if she even thought of me back then after the incident, or if she has even thought of me since her brother talked to her. But the regret for the mistake I made and the actions I didn't take so long ago is so strong that I can't help but wonder what would have happened had that mistake never been made. TLDR had a longtime pen pal / best girlfriend in MS and HS. In college, sent her an inappropriate email that I thought was funny but she didn't, which ended our friendship. 30 years later, She has moved on and does not want to rekindle our relationship. Had her brother talked to her on my behalf in an effort to restore the friendship. Brother informed me that she has moved on, but she holds no ill will. Now can't help but think that maybe I should close that chapter of my life by sending her one last heartfelt letter. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.